All right, Fernando, go ahead.
All right, Fernando Mendez, chiropractor, Brooklyn, New York. So Brian said, have you had any advice for young chiropractors? And what I was thinking about on the way over here, or this evening, was something I was reading. It was in the Psalms. It said, David took care of his people with a true heart and skillful hands. And as I was reading all this stuff, that line was so simple, it just hit me that I highlighted it, and I was looking at it tonight, and I said, that really sums it all up. And really, at first I'd sing the true heart part, and I said, oh, that's really what I'm trying to get at with my people. But it says he cared for them, and really that's the first step for me right now. When people walk in, obviously I'm a chiropractor, I'm thinking people are going to come in, they're coming in for an adjustment, I'm going to adjust them, but that's really hasn't. There's a step before that where I feel like I have to almost embrace the person as they're coming in and make them feel comfortable and that they're going to be cared for. Because sometimes I just rush through and just try to get to the adjustment and try to move those bones. And I think the better approach is focus on caring for them. So David cared for them with a true heart and skillful hands. The true heart part for me, sometimes, you know, people come with all sorts of problems. They can be overwhelming, or what are you going to do? And I just think, look, I'm just going to take care of them right now at this moment. And that carries into the skillful hands part, where I just go, what am I feeling here? What's in front of me? And how can I just help this person out? And when I just keep it that simple, it works out a lot better. So that would be my advice for the young people and for anybody, and the advice I'm kind of trying to follow myself, of caring for people with a true heart and skillful hands. And I think that skillful hands part, you know, when you have the good intentions with a true heart, you kind of just let chiropractic do the work. At this point, 20 years in, you know, I know my anatomy, I know how these things feel, and you just have to almost remove my thoughts and just let it go. And that's what I have to share.
All right, would anyone like to ask Fernando anything? I hit the wrong thing. Okay, anyone? Sorry.
What would you recommend to a young chiropractor, a new chiropractor, to have skill in hands? What would they do best to acquire that skill?
I guess it's just, it takes different things, but at some point you need reps, meaning you have to practice, right? We're all in practice. So, I mean, I know when I was starting out, I was, all right, let me learn this and that before I get in like the arena with the patient. But until you get in there, you don't really know, what, and it's going to be messy, and you just got to get in there. You can't. Again, if you have good intentions, you have that true heart, then just the work will come out eventually as nicely as you hope it would.
Anyone else like to ask Fernando anything? What was the quote again? You started again.
David cared for his people with a true heart and skillful hands.
Okay. Anyone else like to ask Fernando anything? All right, well, go ahead.
What about your experience being adjusted by Pasquale? Do you think that helped you? And since Pasquale's not around now, what would you say to maybe a chiropractic student or someone new?
He was definitely, be calm, be still. I didn't have him take care of me too much because, I mean, he was in his late 90s, and he was already, providing me a lot. So, and there was always chiropractors around. So I didn't have him take care of me that much, but when he did, it was definitely a point where I was absorbed by him almost. It was like, I remember, I think he adjusted my neck once standing, and he grabbed my head. And it wasn't forceful or anything, but there was a point where my head was out of it was out of my hands, and I was in his grasp, and it was, he had those big paws, and he paralyzed me or something, and then, he did his magic.
All right, that's it, Fernando. Gracias. Thank you. Excellent. All right, the floor is open. Whoever would like to come out.
Thank you.
Good start. There's Senior Ibis. Anyway, all right, I have to move things around. So the floor is open. Whoever would like to come up. I'm going to get a marker for this, all right? for whoever would like to come up, or anyone from Zoom, you can speak. Let me know. All right, so the floor is open, whoever would like to speak. Mark Johnson. Right there, you're good.
Hello, Self-Center, Mark Johnson, chiropractor, Red Bank, New Jersey. It's really a pleasure to be here tonight, be around this type of energy and people. I was thinking about BJ's piece that he wrote about the truth, and the first sentence says, we chiropractors deal with the subtle essence of the soul. So I've always kind of looked at chiropractic as a spiritual type practice anyway. I got into it in that type of a way, and practicing chiropractic has always been that way for me. I kind of feel like when we adjust people, we're adjusting not only their essence, but we're adjusting their soul and working with a pure heart, open, beautiful hands. It was always head, heart, and hands. So for young chiropractors, I would say stick with the head, heart, and hands. If our heart isn't always in the right place all the time, it will get there if we get adjusted, because it will clear those patterns that have blocked us for many, many years, maybe lifetimes, who knows what. So I had a cool experience last week. I was working on a dog that was totally lame. The people thought that the dog was going to be dead. They were going to take it to the vet, put it to sleep. They had to pick it up on a towel. It wasn't moving, and they knew this animal for a while. It was actually their son's dog, and the son wasn't around. And they were type, I guess, getting to the point where they thought, we got to take this dog to the vet and probably put it down. So they gave me a call, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll come over there and work on it. And so I looked at the animal and I thought, you know what, we're working with the subtle essence of the soul, whether it be a dog, a cat, a human, horses, whatever. And so I kind of tapped into that and went there with an intent of love and clearing that animal's nerve system, and it was miraculous. It really was. I mean, I was of course hoping that it would be miraculous anyway. So part of our intent and clarity that we adjust the people with and adjust animals with is also the same intent that we want to live our own life, I think, and the clarity of it. So when I worked on the animal, I just looked at it tenderly, just like we would look at any other human being, and just touching it and working on it. And the dog looked up at me many times, and I could tell we had this rapport and connection, like, thank you, you're helping me. And the more that rapport happened, I could feel the animal melting even more in my hands. And it took me a while to clear that animal out. That animal was blocked. And so I probably worked on it 20 minutes, which is way longer than I worked on humans. So but I stayed there, and then I called later, and they said it was amazing how the dog got up, moved around, walked the rest of the day, and did all these things. And I called back again the next day. I said, how's the animal doing? He said, it's like a brand new dog, running around the yard, going up and down stairs, when they had to put it on a towel to lift it up and move it around. So it was just as exciting with an animal as it is to see great results with humans. We have an amazing potential with chiropractic, and I've been doing it a long time, and sometimes I don't see like the excitement of it or how powerful it is until you see something like that, and it just reminds you not only the animals work with that subtle essence, but we're working with humans. And I would say any young chiropractors that are listening to this, make practice fun. Keep it fun, keep it light, live in the moment with it, give yourself time to learn, give yourself time to process things, because I'm still doing it after all these years. I feel like sometimes I don't know anything, but I think I have to know nothing to get back into knowing. And that's really all I got to say.
Anyone want to ask Mark anything? What year did you graduate chiropractic school?
1979.
45 years. Anyone else like to ask Senior Mark anything? Anyone? Are you still having fun, Mark, being a chiropractor?
I am. But the time thing's messing with me. This time, like I see how many years it was, I was like, oh my God, time. And time seems to be flying so fast. It does, this year it's kind of freaked me out about time. Seeing how fast, like the months seem like a day or a week. It's flying. And that kind of, you know, because the more you try to live in the moment, the faster it seems time is going. I don't know if you guys are all experiencing that too with people, but it's almost like, you know, it seemed like we were at Easter, then boom, we're in Memorial Day, and then boom, we're here, we're at the end of the summer. It's crazy. Time flies. Whether you're having fun or not, so have fun.
Anyone else want to ask Mark anything? Evenson.
What made you go 20 minutes? Because you made sure to, you know, highlight that that's longer than you work on humans. Was there like a feeling that kept you to keep on going, or
Oh, yeah.
a hope? Or?
Yeah, it was a rapport that I established with it, and I could just tell it was just like it kept needing more, So I would go upper cervical, sacrum, until I felt like, okay, that was enough. I don't know if it was like the animal had to get to a peaceful state for me to feel like, okay, it was done. I don't know. And I don't usually take that long when I do animals. But this animal definitely, its spark was very low. So I mean, I could see why the people were thinking that it really looked like it'd been out of it, and it was not being right for almost 2 months.
All right, Mark, thank you very much.
All right.
Come on. The floor is open for whoever would like to come up. You don't have to be a chiropractor to speak. Anyone can speak by the self-centered. The floor is open. Anyone? I don't have many filling stories. All right,
Fillings, just fill in. How would we do that?
All right, my name is Philip Rocco, and I'm a chiropractor in Staten Island, originally from Brooklyn, New York. I'll start off like this. First patient this morning says to me, you know, I went to Dr. Sarasoli when I was young, blah, blah, blah. And maybe start to like think about him, you know, kind of open up a door, and she was telling me about her experiences with her adjustments with him, and then she said that her girlfriend had a daughter who was having convulsions, and Pasquale had went to the house to adjust the little girl, and she was better. So, and then Sora just now said, now that Pasquale is gone, and again it made me think. And I just want to tell you about an experience, and I didn't even tell you about this, but a couple of years ago, I woke up and I wasn't feeling well, and I had these lymph nodes that were all swollen along here, and some swollen lymph nodes in this area here too. And I said, I'll go to Fernando and get adjusted. Has anybody ever been adjusted by Pasquale? You have, right? Have you? Not really. He adjusted you very well. He adjusted me a lot, and I adjusted him for many, many years. And he had hands that were like just different than anybody else's hands, you know, like just different. And so anyway, I went to Fernando's office, and I laid on your table, and then when you adjusted me, and I've been adjusted by you for many, many times. It felt like Pasquale was adjusting me. It was kind of strange, and I realized it right away. It's just as soon as you started to put your hands on me, and I said, wow, that doesn't feel like Fernando's hands. It feels like Pasquale's hands. And he adjusted me, and I told him I was better. Long story short. So Pasquale's still around all the time. And as far as it goes for young students, young chiropractors out there, the message that I would give them is to know how great chiropractic is, how wonderful it is, how glorious it is, A lot of times I think students go through school and they don't really get chiropractic. They don't get the awesomeness of chiropractic. So they start to look into different things and other things. And this, the other thing. And before long, they spend so much time doing other things that they forget chiropractic. So it's like that book, Acres and Acres of Diamonds. The farmer goes all over the world looking for diamonds, and finally comes back home to his own farm, and he looks in the dirt and he sees that he had acres and acres of diamonds at home. And he was running all over the world for them. So understand that that chiropractic is a diamond. It's a diamond. It's a perfect diamond. It's pure. So use chiropractic. Expect it. People to get well. Even things that you don't even think will get better when they come into you. And the only other thing I would say to them is this, is that every adjustment that you make, that's great, but make the next adjustment better than that last adjustment. Whatever it is that you have to do to make it better, make it better.
Anyone want to ask Phil anything? Anyone? Anyone? One more time.
I wonder, how,
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
For either one who has spoken, how much of it is the effectiveness of the adjustment, how much of it is being established in the confidence that the power that made the body heals the body?
All of it. All of it.
All right. Anyone else want to ask Phil anything? I have to hide the phone for Jack.
Did you hear me?
Did you hear me?
Did you hear his answer, Steve?
All of it.
Yeah, good. Anyone else? Anyone? All right, Phil. Excellent. Clap for Phil Franco. All right, everybody, the floor is open. Who would like to speak? All right, I'll do a quick question for everyone. If you go to Brooklyn, to the corner of Corrigan and Nostrand Avenue, what neighborhood is that?
Is that Bushwick?
No.
How nice.
What street?
Clarendon and Nostrand Avenue.
Flatbush?
Good, close.
Uh,
East Flatbush. There's a man in here who grew up there, that's why I said that. I won't point him out, but he's sitting in the back, and he's not from Pennsylvania. All right, the floor is open for whoever would like to come up. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, Jack's got a tricycle. All right, anyone want to speak? The floor is open. Alex.
Alex Wilkowitz, chiropractor in Bluestown, Pennsylvania. You know, it was interesting when Brian asked about that. If you were giving advice to a new chiropractor, what would be some things you might have for them? The first thing that came to me was get adjusted regularly. When you're in school, usually you don't get adjusted regularly, even though it's all around you. For the last 2 years, Fernando's been kind of in my backyard, and I've gotten adjusted almost every week. And I've just noted like so many positive changes just from that alone. And even though I feel like in the past I tried to get adjusted regularly, it was never like weekly for, year after year. And the results are just, if students had not experienced that before, I think that'd be pivotal for them. And for them to immerse themselves in chiropractic. If you want to learn a new language, they always say you need to be immersed in it, and I think the same would be the case with chiropractic. And it's kind of hard when you're new in the field, but I think that's pivotal. And once you're immersed for a period of time, I always think of TNT, thinking and talking. And we've talked a lot about that here. You need to kind of get away from that and really trust in what you're doing. And getting to the point where you can actually turn that off and just do what you do and be led, that's pivotal. That's it.
All right. Anyone want to ask Alex anything? Anyone? Anyone? Go ahead, Mark.
What have you enjoyed the most about being a chiropractor?
I'd actually have to say, seeing people over time, seeing the amazing changes that many have, and from them, I feel like I get a lot of change. So much of what we do is just like a reflection. If you want to see bad things in the world, you'll see them. If you want to see good things, you'll see them as well. I think when you put good things out there, it tends to shine back at you.
Anyone else want to ask Alex anything? Anyone? All right, Alex. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Excellent. All right. The floor is open. Whoever would like to speak. Anyone from Zoom world, you're welcome to speak as well. Anyone? You don't have to, by the way. We're not here to push people around. So one more time, does anyone else want to speak? All right then. We're going to get right to it. Jackie, I came prepared. So, Brian Patrick Corrigan, chiropractor, Jersey City, New Jersey. So yes, I purposely put this talk to be, it's mainly directed at students in chiropractic school and for young chiropractors, for everyone, but I'm kind of directing it at them. A lot of the people who know me have heard me say these things before, but I'm trying to put an order for if we had some of these young chiropractors and students here. So my first thing is I have a quote over here, and it's from D.D. Palmer, from his first book, 1910, on page 15. And there's one word in it, and he wrote one sentence: chiropractic deserves the seat of honor and distinction. And I really believe that. And we were talking about something I have written down. It's fun being a chiropractor. Now, Pasquale once told me something, and Phil, you were there when this story happened. This is like the summer of like 1998. We're in Pasquale's backyard. Pasquale's like, Brian, he had like this brick shed. He's like, you climb on top of that, then you jump on top of some branch, tie a rope around it, and then come down, they'll pull it and you'll cut it. I said, I think I'm going to get killed doing this job. So anyway, I do the job, and afterwards, he goes, all of a sudden, Pasquale the Blue, he goes to me, because he just met me a few months earlier, he goes, you know, it takes you 10 years to learn how to sense what someone needs. That's what he told me. And I think about these young chiropractors, don't be in such a rush. Allow yourself to really take the time to learn the art, because it is an art. So what do you really need? And this is another quote from Pasquale, all you need is your heart in the center, your hands, a chiropractic table, and seats for the people to sit down and wait for you. Focus on serving people, and the rest will take care of itself. Serve people with the pure intentions of the Holy Spirit, and God provides all your needs. Now here's another big one. He used to say to me, all these people, they're running around, all they're doing is talking about getting more people in. He goes, how about focus on the person that's right in front of you? When you focus on them, they sense it. If they sense that you keep thinking about, I have to get more people, they're going to sense that. They're not going to want to come back because they don't feel like you're giving them your full attention. That was one of the other big things he told me. Oh, and his big thing was when the people come into you, make sure you have something good to give them. Deliver the goods. And what I say these are things that I say for myself. I say, I ask God to give me only the words and actions that are for my higher good and the higher good of everyone I come across. Now this lady, Lorna Burns, she sees angels. Her book was called Angels in My Hair. That's the first book, came out, I'm going to say 2008. I just went to one of her workshops in upstate New York. It was amazing. But in her book, and she spoke about it there too, she says, there's lots of, Pasquale would say, ask help from your spiritual friends. Well, she calls them unemployed angels. They're running around just waiting for you to ask them for help. So I say to myself, I'm going to employ these angels, and their task is to help me. So I've been doing it to make me better. So I'm just going to read all this stuff, and I'll tie it all together. I just want to get it out. So love, now this is from Pasquale. This was from his 96th birthday party. It was in Brooklyn. Mark knows the guy, Gargiulo's in Coney Island. It's on video on YouTube, our YouTube channel. So love or light, same thing, conquers all. And he said, I disagree. It's only the labor that conquers stumbling blocks that prevent us to get to the light or love. Once you get to the love, you have nothing to conquer anymore. It is all over. And I say, once you get to love, you're free. This is freedom. Now, I come across a lot of people as a chiropractor. I've been doing this for 28 years, and some people, they have all this pain. They're like, where do I go with my pain? What do I do about this? And there's a show called Soft White Underbelly, and there's a veteran from Iraq. He did 4 tours, 3 in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. So that's 4 years, more than 4 years of his life, actually. And he's, unfortunately now, he's homeless and living on the streets of Los Angeles. And he goes, I do not know if I'm finished hurting yet. And I look at it, there's so many people that are hurting, and they don't know what to do about it. And they're in so much pain. So I said, well, how can chiropractic help these people? So let's focus on that. I've spoken about this before, but I'll get into it again. The word suffer, it does mean to have pain, to endure pain. But it also means to undergo and pass through is change. It also means to allow and to permit. When you allow and permit yourself to go through the pain, you come out on the other side okay. So I have my saying that I came up. Not all suffering involves pain, not all pain involves suffering. So what do I mean? You could have suffering, meaning undergoing and passing through is change, but not all of it involves pain. Some of it does. But you're some people, they're in pain, but they're not suffering, meaning they're not allowing themselves to go through the change. Once they hit a certain spot of pain, they don't allow themselves to go past it. They just sit there and they just complain about that, and they're afraid to move forward, and they're stuck. It's a comfort zone of misery, but for them, that's their comfort, and they just won't let themselves get out of it. But you have to be committed, which means to send yourself through thoroughly. So the word C-O-M, in this sense means thoroughly. And on my handwriting. And Mittere, M-I-T-T-E-R-E, means to send. Right, to send. So if you send yourself through everything thoroughly, you will come out of it okay. And I suggest you do it in small sequential steps. Now, and my attitude is with people, whatever they choose to do, I'm going to love them either way. So I don't want to put any judgment on people. I just love you for whom what you are. Now I'm going to talk about some stories about some people I've taken care of over the years. One man came in, 9 months before I met him, he had fallen down and fractured a bunch of vertebrae in his neck, and he had the whole neck fused, and ever since then he'd been in a wheelchair and was unable to walk. He could stand up and support himself and maybe do a bit of a shuffle, but other than that, he couldn't walk. And he was in late 40s, and he came in with his mother and his sister. And another office I had at the time. So he was out, his mother and sister were out in the waiting room. So he come in the wheelchair, I saw a vision in my head. And that's how I take care of people. I see it in my head and I just followed it. I ask my spiritual friends or angels for help, and they give it to me and I follow it. I don't change the way, I don't add it or take away, I just do it. So I did that for him. So I said, and he was a lot taller than me. I said, put your hands on my shoulder, I'm going to help you stand up. So he stood up. I said, now walk. But walk with your hands supporting, I will be your support. And he walked. So I opened the door, I took him outside, and he walked down to the waiting room, which was filled with people. His mother was screaming and yelling, oh my God, oh my God. And then I said, now walk without me. And I took his hands off, and he walked without my assistance. And he got his life back. He's walking around. It's a whole long story, but at the end of it, all these years later, I know people, he moved. He was up here visiting. He couldn't even go back to where he lived because he was such a mess. So he was able to move back to be with his family and stuff. And I know to this day he's still walking because I know people who know him and I ask. So that's a good story. There's a man, he was dying. And he knew he was dying. His liver was just gone. And he came in one day and he just got out of the hospital. And he was so bloated, so many fluids. And he came in. And once again, I saw in my head what to do. And I adjusted him. And he got up and he said, thank you. And then he left. But his son was there, and his son goes, he told us the first thing he wants to do is see you, because you're the only one that makes him feel better. And he passed away a few months later. Now maybe some people are like, did I help this man? Yes, I helped him. I helped him in just the fact, number one, he at least got some relief from the situation he was in, and it helped him process whatever he had to process, and it just helped him be with his family more and enjoy the time he had left. And his family was very appreciative that he got that help. So this one guy comes in to me, I took care of him like once or twice, and then I didn't see him. And he comes back in, and he goes, and he says his wife had an accident. I said, okay. I said, well, you know, bring her in here. I'll be more than happy to help her. He goes, you don't understand. He goes, she died 3 hours ago. He told me this in front of a whole waiting room of people, so I was shocked. I was looking at him. And then he grabbed my hand. He took it with both his hands and mine in the middle, and he goes, it's a very hard time in my life, but I know you can help me get through this. I know if I come here, you'll help me get through it. I said, okay. Then he left. And he says, I'll be back in a few weeks. I have to get all this funeral and all this stuff out. And he came back, and he came in for like 9 months straight. He's not from this country, then he had to go back to his country for some family stuff. Now, shortly after that, this woman comes in. When she was in town, she would visit me. When she visited her friend, she'd come by and say, I really know her. I met her maybe once or twice, and she comes in, she says she's having a hard week. And I said, what happened? She's like, one of her children had committed suicide 2 days before she came in. So I'm like, no. This is it. But after I adjusted her, she said the same thing that guy did. I know you can help me get through this. I know you can help me. Then she went back to wherever she's from. I didn't see her. And a year later, she came in. She's like, something about that day told me I had to come and see you to help me. Now, you know, and I didn't, and that man who kept coming in, I didn't have any, you know, I'm not a therapist. I didn't sit there and talk to him a lot or anything. I just adjusted him and he would leave. But it really helps people process things. Those are very intense stories I'm giving you, but it's helping people get through all sorts of things without, and Pasquale would say, without me even saying a word. And it just helps them work through it. Now, there's a comedian that Fernando likes. His name is Joey Diaz. And he says, people are afraid of what sets them free. And that's true for a lot of people. I see a lot of people, for whatever reason, they get to a certain point and they get to that light, and from love, they either run to it or they run from it. I think chiropractic helps them relax so that they can run to the love. Now, here's another thing I've heard some young chiropractors say over the years. They're afraid of burning out, or they're afraid of picking up bad things from people that they take care of and all that stuff. Well, being here, being a self-centered person, I met Pasquale I heard him speak in 1992 when I was in school, but I met him in 1998. And I got adjusted by Pasquale many, many times. And there was a period of time he had me adjust me. I'm out of school 2 years. I'm like, he's been out of school 55 years, and he was a legend. But he never made me be nervous about it. Then after a while, he would just point things out to me. Just think about this, think about doing this, think about this. And it wasn't a big, long speech. It was literally 5 seconds, 10 seconds. He would tell me things. But getting back to this, one of the things he used to say to about, ask your spiritual friends for the help, of course. But when you're working on these people that are ill, whether they have maybe mental disturbances or physical or both or whatever it may, what you want to label it, just know when you're in that zone and you, as a chiropractor, it's like you step out of space and time, you get in that pause and your spiritual friends are helping you, you're not going to get sick. You're just going to get the wisdom from what that person's going through, the codes, or whatever it is they're going through, you're going to learn about it, but you yourself will not have to get your illness that they have. You'll just get the understanding of what it is they're going through. And that's powerful to be a chiropractor. And you really will understand that. One of the hardest, and I heard this is from an old timer said this. It wasn't a chiropractor. This is an old saying. One of the hardest things to do is to learn how to accept a gift. And accepting love is a gift. It's one thing to love others, to love yourself, or love myself, and I have to love others, but allowing other people to love me, that was a hard one for me. And at Self-Center, I learned to do that. Now this guy, D.D. Palmer, I just want to touch on him. He's the founder of chiropractic. He got chiropractic from the spiritual realm. And in the Bible they call it inspiration, divine inspiration. And one of his big thing was, chiropractic's about the advancement, chiropractic's about the advancement of your spiritual existence throughout eternity. So I'll let people think about what that means to them. But when you're a chiropractor and you're serving people,
Open it.
Mommy can do it, Jackie. Mommy will open it for you. Come on, he always gives me a toy.
Heavy.
Can you hand that to Sarah behind you? Go on, Mommy will open it, Jackie.
Mommy.
Mark got Jackie a present. He wants it right
Mommy.
now. So,
Mommy.
oh yeah. It's like, you're a chiropractor, here I am. Someone comes in to me, and I have to see them for who and what they are. But it's like, I don't say I work on people, I work with people. And it's like at that time, we both like jump out of space and time, and allows that person to see all the stumbling blocks inside of them. They feel safe, they see every single thing inside of them that is preventing them to getting to love. Then when they jump back inside, like the space and time, they have the sense of security of what it is they need to work on, those stumbling blocks, and they can do it. And that's the fun thing of being a chiropractor, all these years watching people who keep coming in, work through all these stumbling blocks, and you just notice their life improves, they're happier, everything improves, and it's just a wonderful, beautiful thing to see, and it helps them do it. Now, there was this boy, he was autistic, and I took Pasquale to the house because his mother grew up next door to me as a child. I took Pasquale there, and this boy at the time was violent, and he would punch you or anything. I bring Pasquale over, the kid run, and he had a special chair that only he could sit in. If you sat in that chair, he would be very upset. Where does Pasquale sit? Right in the chair. The kid runs up to him and kisses Pasquale in the cheek. Everyone almost like fainted. I think because Pasquale could see who this boy really is. He saw his divineness, and that kid could sense that. Pasquale just told the mother this boy had been pushed ahead. He got pushed ahead too fast. Chiropractic can help him come back down the steps. And at the time he couldn't go to school. Then he got better. He could go back to school. He could go out in public, do whatever he wants. So that the family got their life back. It was nice to see. I just got a few more things here. Then I'm going to put everything together. So, also here's where I learned that stuff. People with Alzheimer's, and I've taken care of a lot of people with Alzheimer's, like I would do house calls. We're here in Jersey City. If you go outside the building here to the right, you can see it from the window. There's a building there. It's a senior citizen building. This woman was taking care of her mother and her husband, both with Alzheimer's at the same time. So I go over and take care of both of them. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But, as people here know, here's what I learned. People think, oh, they're not doing anything. They are working. They have to have every earthly, mundane thing removed from their life. So all they can do is focus on the work that they need to do. That's how it was explained to me from Pasquale. It's like, these people, he's all right. These people are, they're working on all these things. So they are working. I think, and when I used to go over to that house, they weren't speaking, and they weren't walking. This woman's, her mother, and then one day, she said she hears a noise. Her husband was up out in the hallway. He was walking in. He started speaking again. The woman started speaking again. You know, they both eventually passed away, but at least it made things a little bit easier. The lady would yell at me when I'd go over there. She'd yell at me in Spanish. Slowly and softly when I'd work on her. She'd say, despacito, suavecito. She would tell me, go slowly. And everyone would laugh and she would laugh. So now I'm going to tell you another story. This was this little girl. I took care of her all throughout while she was pregnant. While the mother was pregnant with her. She had and she was fine. Birth, smooth birth. Everything went well. She was 2 months old. The mother calls me up. I need you to come to my house. There's something going on with my daughter. I said, what do you mean? I don't know. It's just something not right. So I go over there. The girl was all of a sudden turned like this. I said, what happened? And she had a blank stare in her face and wasn't eating. And the mother said, well, she had 8 vaccines the day before because she went to a clinic. I said, oh, it was just too much for her. So she was really a mess, and I was upset about it. But I went home, and when I went home, I asked God, show me what I need to do, because being upset and angry is not going to help this child. So I had a vision, God showed me exactly what to do. I went back there the next day, did exactly what I was shown to do, and a tear came down her face. I said, that's like the poison leaving. I told the mother she's going to be okay. There's a lot more to this story, which it's too long for me to tell, but I went there every day for 7 months. Then I went 6 days a week for like 5 months. Then it was 5 days a week for a long time. It took her a year, but she's out of it. For her arm, if you look at her now, she's going to be like 11 years old. She speaks, reads and writes 2 languages, plays the piano, artist. She's doing really well. And that shows me that God is real and that chiropractic is real. Chiropractic is allowing people to work with God, and that's what it really is. And there's so many other stories that I had to deal with while going over there, because they live in a kind of rough neighborhood, and it was wild. But the local little drug dealers knew I was there to help that girl, so they would make sure I got in the building. They'd have the door open for me. It was a beautiful thing. I guess I'll tell you this story because the mother seems to think it's a funny story. The second time I was going over there, it was snowing. And the snow was coming down, it was like an inch of snow on the ground. I'm carrying my portable table. These guys come up in a car next to me. They said, hey, that's a flat screen TV. I said, no, I'm a chiropractor, it's a portable table. No, it's a flat screen TV. I said, no, I'm a chiropractor, it's a portable. That's a flat screen TV. I said, yo, bro, I'm a chiropractor, it's a portable table. So they sped up to cut me off. And the guy I saw enormous in the back. There was 3 of them. And I'm like, all right. So I, once again, like God put a vision in my head. Walk at them. And if I had to, I would have fought all 3 of them. And I started going at the guy, the intention, if you get out of that car, I'm going to knock you out in front of everybody. And then he, so I had it. It was like from here to where Mark is, I'm going at him. And so the guy was stepping out of the car to come after me. And then when he saw me coming out, he goes, yo, okay, man, okay. And he got back in the car, and they left. And those ladies were like, they were going to kill you, they were going to do this, they were going to do that. And I said, let me tell you, they wouldn't like what they find if they tangle with me. And they were all laughing. I said, don't worry about it. But it shows you, there's a pushback. Sometimes there are forces that want to get in your way of doing things. But I think God put the vision in that man's head what was going to happen to him if he continued on the course he thought he was going to go on. And I really believe that. Now, I'm not promoting violence. I'm just telling you what happened. Now, be still and know that I am God. So I look at it this. We have to animate the stillness. Let's take that stillness, and I want the conditions of heaven here. I want it right here. Because some people say, as someone's dying, they know everything. Well, I say, let's have that here while we're here. We have to work for it, and we have to get it. And I really think that's why chiropractic came here. It's a spiritual calling. When I say animate the stillness, let's take that stillness, that pause I was talking about, and let's have those conditions here. But in order to do that, all those stumbling blocks inside of us, when we come back and work through them, it shakes us up. And it can be painful and upsetting to people, or they're reliving emotional things. But if you allow yourself to go through in small sequential steps, you'll have that stillness at all times in here. And that's what chiropractic does. That's why I see the people who keep coming in, who've been through a lot in their life, they're actually finally, I see stillness inside of them and peace. And whatever their physical conditions were or mental stuff, I see that they work through it. And they do it slowly. And chiropractic, for me, that's why I came here, to help people to have heaven here. So I'll end on that. Anyone want to ask me
Anybody want to ask
anything?
Brian anything?
Anyone? I know that was a lot, but I wanted to have it in order.
Anybody? No?
We'll go one more time. Anyone? Mark.
I know you used to love it when there was lots of chaos in Jersey City,
Yeah.
and craziness, like you had to go to these places, do house calls and all. And now that things have settled down and you got this office space and you still have these people coming in, what do you feel that craziness for you that makes you feel so happy now? Because you loved that stuff before.
Well, I like, you know, when you see a lot of people in the street and they're yelling and they're screaming, and they have a story and they have a life, and I would sit there and listen to them. Can you just move your chair so I can go by?
Sorry.
Just Jackie's done. Go, Jackie. I'll see you at home. Here, let me do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Jackie going.
Bye, everybody.
What is going on with this?
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, Jack. Thanks. All right. Like I was saying, all these, I would sit down there and they'd come in, they'd talk to me. I would adjust all the people if they wanted to. But they all had a story. The wisdom I've learned from people that you'd see lying on the street. And I'll share some quick stories. You heard me tell this down at Daniele's, but two of these stories happened. There were two guys. When I used to walk out of my building, there'd be like 30 people, maybe more, in all sorts of states of drunkenness and drugs and all. And I knew them by name, they knew my name. And this one guy was sitting there. He's literally sitting on the street, like on the sidewalk, leaning against the building. And he'd been drinking all day, and he goes, "Brian, look at you, you're a mess. You gotta look better. What are you doing running around here? You're a chiropractor in this town. You have to look better." I said, "I'm not working right now." "I don't care. You have to present yourself better." I'm like, all right. This guy, he's one of the few that's still alive. And I see him once in a while. I said, I guess I really needed to hear that. I needed to clean my act up. Then right after he said that, the man sitting next to him was sitting on top of, if you go look in front of buildings, they have this thing for the fire department. It's like it's an outlet for them to hook the hoses up to. And they have their tools to turn it on. So he's sitting on top of that. And he's against the building. And I knew this guy for years, but he was on heroin. And you see people like that, they do this thing, they do this, and they get up. And they do this, and they call it like dropping, and then they get up. So he was doing that, he goes, "Brian, I want to tell you something." He does this. And he wakes up, and he goes, "Brian, you are thinking too much." And he just stayed, and he passed out. I said, "You know what? I am thinking too much. He's right." Another message from God. Then not that long after that, this guy comes up to me who I know. He's talking to me. And after like 2 minutes, he goes, "How do I know you?" I said, "It's me, Brian, the chiropractor. You've been in my office." "Oh, yeah, I know you." He goes, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 47. He goes, "This is 7 years ago." He goes, "Are you married?" I said, "No." He goes, "What's the matter with you? What's your problem?" I go, "How old are you?" He goes, 55. I said, "Are you married?" He goes, "No." I go, "What's your problem?" When he left, he goes, "You're frustrated." And he points right in my face. I'm like, man, he's right. I am frustrated. I really am. There's something about it. He's right. He's right. So then he leaves. So I'm like, so God gives us messages to hear. And many years ago in Jersey City, this is another crazy neighborhood. It's all warehouses, and I used to go to a place to like a drug, like a halfway house, and I would adjust all the people there. But you don't have them in like a neighborhood, so they allowed them to have it there because there was no neighborhood. It was in like an industrial area, but it was all filled with prostitutes and drugs. I mean, filled. When I went over there, I had to, before I got out of my car, I looked at my surroundings to make sure no one would come at me. And I hear this guy keeps going, "Woo, woo, 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 woo," and he had a beer in his hand. I said, "Okay," so I waited for him. He came up and he goes, "Do you know what just happened to me?" I said, "No, I don't." He goes, "I was urinating in public, and the police didn't come by and arrest me." I said, "Good for you." He looks at me. I go, "You know what?" He goes, "What?" I go, "Today's your lucky day." He goes, "Yeah, it is." And he kept laughing. We spoke with her, and I was laughing really hard when he laughed. And then, so it was like the street comes up. I was in the corner. The street comes up. There's like a warehouse here. So my car was here. Like the warehouse, this side of it, the street was right here. But and next to it, it's all fences along because there was a recycling scrapyard next to it, and it's all barbed wire because they don't want people in there taking stuff. So I got my table and I come out, what, 15 seconds maybe? So I went and I looked, he was gone. And it's at least 300 yards to walk to where the other street is. So I told Pasquale the story. This is like 2000, this is played. He goes, Brian, don't you understand? That was a spiritual being coming just to cheer you up. You needed cheering up, and he cheered you up. So you never know who's coming to talk to you. You never know. So out of all those crazy people, I learned so much from them. And me getting to know them and becoming friendly with them, they opened up to me, and they had so much wisdom to give me. You have to be careful, because if you don't understand that world, I tell people, stay out of it. Because it's chaos, and at times it can be dangerous if you don't know how to deal with that world. But I never put myself in, I never turned my back on anyone. I always had everyone in front of me. I had all my little rules. But a lot of those guys got adjusted. And they didn't have any money. I said, I don't care. So chiropractic, you never know who's going to come up to you and want you to take care of them. And if you're comfortable doing it, I say just do it. And you'll see amazing, amazing changes in them. But also, I had to make the changes in myself. And seeing them and the thing about that world is they're honest with you. If they think you're screwing around, they're going to tell you. So I got all these messages in my ears, and I used the messages that they gave me. And chiropractic helps me receive those messages from my spiritual friends so I can help myself and help others. I know that's a long answer, but I want to put all the stories in.
Anybody else got a question for Brian?
You made it sound so simple. So, how simple is it to ask your spiritual friends for help?
Just do it.
Simple.
Mark went with me to that Lona Burn thing. She said also, just pretend you're standing still, and you said pretend you, like for a moment, you can see your soul in front of you, and you just step into it. Step into like the essence of it, so you can feel it. And then you can ask your spiritual friend for help. That's what I do, and it helps me.
And your soul's connected to the Almighty.
And yeah, and I also tell myself, but my soul connected to God. I always make sure. That's other chiropractic. It helps people with their awareness to be connected to the Almighty God, and that's where the peace comes and love comes from.
Part 2.
Your
If you have spiritual friends, does that mean you have spiritual enemies?
I say no. I just focus on my spiritual friends. If there are those people doing that, it's none of my business. Because if I focus on them, then I think I'll draw that to my life. So I just focus on my spiritual friends and the goodness and love, and that's what I have in my life. Because when you're strong like that, nothing can take you away from it. Nothing was going to stop me from taking care of that little girl that day. Even those 3 big guys were trying to get me, I wouldn't allow it. Because I had to see her that day. I didn't focus on fighting them, I focused on the love I had for taking care of that little girl. I think that's what got me through it. Not being a tough guy. Does anyone else? Go ahead.
You think they picked up on that energy, and that's why it was like you were just accepted there? Because you were there, you weren't afraid of anything. You were
I wasn't, and
you
it
were there
was,
to serve.
she had her, I lived in Jersey City for almost 28 years. I lived in buildings where there were drug addicts. I had to walk over them, and drug dealers in there. The one place the drug dealer, he was a nasty guy. He was mean. But some of these other guys, they're just trying to, a little hustle, get a little extra money. I'm not saying I suggest anyone to get caught up in that lifestyle, but when you meet them, they're lost guys, and they tell me they really don't want to be in that life. But they don't see themselves being able to do something else. And I would just say, well, I think you can do something else. They said no one's ever gave them an encouraging word like the stuff that I said. But I said, I'm not here to run your life, but I used to tell them, I'm not your customer, and I'm not your competition, so I won't be involved in any of your business, and I really don't want to be around while you're doing that stuff, and I can get caught up in your mess if the police come. So when I see you, I'll say hello, but I'm going to keep moving. But they made sure if I had to go somewhere, the doors were open. Wherever I needed to go, I got in. They said, you got respect, that they say. Meaning, I can go